This video is sponsored by Freely Give. If you need help with Drupal and AI, get in contact with us. First of all, Happy New Year. I'm gonna showcase a video now that you might feel like, okay, this is definitely not something new. I have seen all this before. Just wait 2 minutes and I will come to the kicker with this. So this is a restaurant review site. It has like a review title, image, some ratings you have to fill out, categories, uh, address, and homepage. I just set this up in like half an hour to showcase something. I'm just gonna paste in something I created with ChatGPT, but it's based on what I feel about Mustafa's Gemüse Kebab. If you ever go to Berlin, don't go there, it's a tourist trap. And you can start with seeing, for instance, there's a spelling error here. So if we set up the CKEditor assistant correctly, we can fix spelling using AI. So we're just gonna fix spelling. It gives us another version that fixes that, right? So we're just clicking here and we can do another thing here. We say that we want to change the tone to be, I don't know, sarcastic. You know, you can add whatever you want here with whatever context you want. So it becomes a little bit more sarcastic, for instance. Next thing I want to do is upload an image. I'm gonna start by taking like an image of a family, which has nothing to do with restaurant reviews. We're using AI now to validate this. So this actually says that like this image should be showcasing the restaurants or some food from the restaurant, which this obviously doesn't do, so we can't save. So we're using the AI validation module for this. So let's instead then upload an actual picture of Mustafa's Gemüse Kebab. I didn't take this picture, it's just for showcasing here. And then we can also generate the alt text using AI. So we can use a lot of AI here. It creates a kebab food stand with 2 workers and so on. And now I'm gonna then run the automators. So this is not something that I recommend you to do. You should not set ratings on a review site using AI. I'm just gonna showcase that you can do this. So wait time rating should be very long because there's a lot of tourists in there, right? Very low, I mean. Price rating should be very low as well. They are very expensive, while the food rating is probably okay-ish. It should also categorize it. There is no like specific donor in this case, so I'm guessing some of German, Middle Eastern. Yeah, we'll see what it does actually. And it's gonna actually go in, search Google Places for the actual address to get it correct, and base the home page on something that's here. So we have it here. I'm just gonna click save now, and this is gonna happen automatically. Of course, you can use field widget actions module if you prefer actual buttons for this. So we are finished. I will just say 2 caveats here before I go to the kicker, that I sped it up now. So it is sped up, and I've actually tried this a couple of times because what we're coming to here is not as reliable on maybe more complex thing as for instance an open AI provider is. But you will see it has filled out the rating, it has categorized it as Middle Eastern street food. I think the Germans would be angry for this actually. The owner is German. And it has actually found the correct address by searching Google Places. It has filled out the homepage. So now to the kicker then. This was not done using one of the 54 providers we have in Drupal now. So it's not OpenAI, it's not Anthropic, something like that. This has actually not left my computer. But this is still not, what we have had before. We have had LM Studio, Llama, some other things that you can host or run locally. So what actually happened here, for every provider call we did, this has actually returned this into my browser. So I'm running Chrome right now. And there is actually a way to have a provider running inside Chrome. And in my case, I'm running this on my pretty crappy laptop. It has 16 GB of RAM, but that's it. There's no GPU in it. And it just works. So let's go through how this works. So the links I'm gonna show you now are gonna be in the show notes. what you actually see here is the documentation for what's called built-in AI. So this is still experimental, and I'm gonna be honest here. Everything I show you now, it's experimental. So it's experimental in terms of how this works in Chrome. There's flags that you have to turn on, so it's not that it works from the beginning. The way you get it working in Drupal is also experimental. So there are places where you can basically read about it, but you can see here how it works. So the web application can basically call this via JavaScript, and depending on your local hardware, it can actually download a model that adapts. So if you have GPU, you can actually get better outputs than what I showed now. The example that I showed I actually kind of chose those depending on what I knew the 16 gigabyte RAM model would handle. And I have also, I will note as well, I have done changes to the automators to actually run that with structured output. So structured output is something that this model supports. This is something we have an issue for anyway in 2.0 because this is probably the way to go forward with the automators. I will put this in the show notes as well if you have actual opinions about that. You can write there. We have a discuss issue if we should be doing that. Anyway, this download a model that is on your browser, and this only has to happen once then, not per website or something. It downloads so other websites can use it. And what happens then is when you send something to our AI providers and you specifically ask for it to use the browser provider that is called, I will show it here. So it's the browser provider. So if you just get the dev version of this, install it, it's available, and I will showcase that in a second. The first time you use it, if you haven't downloaded the model, there will be a pop-up on your Drupal account that basically tells you, hey, you need to get the model, you download the model, and what happens then compared to any other models, we can go through it here actually. So we can use the API Explorer, because in the API Explorer, of course, you can try different browsers. So we have a typical OpenAI. What model are you? And now I'm not gonna speed up anything, so you can just see the comparison here. Wait, we also do this so it becomes comparable. Answer in one sentence. So it actually doesn't create, you know, a lot of tokens on one place and no tokens on the other. Then you have just another provider called the browser client. The reason we have named it browser client is because in the future, hopefully all browsers will be able to support this, or there might be support by other mechanisms like WebAssembly, right? But right now we only have the model Google Chrome, and we can just go ahead and ask it. So what happens now is this is sent to the backend. Then we have a place in the front end that's currently polling, but what we probably want to do instead of polling there is that we actually add a Node.js sidecar that has WebSockets or something like that, so you don't actually have to wait for it. So now it's finished. You can see I'm Gemma, a large language model created by Google DeepMind. Anyway, so it starts polling. When there is something for it to work on, it starts working on this and gives a response. Now, there's one caveat here. For security reasons, of course, this is connected to a user. So this does work on an anonymous user if you start creating a session, because then it can store this this in a session. But if you have a completely anonymous user, you have some kind of CDN in the way so you can't start sessions, well, then this currently doesn't work, because I added this. As long as we're doing this experimental, this is just a very clear security mechanism to make sure that, you know, you don't ask something and this runs on another person's computer. So it always runs on the computer of the person logged in. or the session where it's created. And that is basically how it works. So now, before I show you how to set it up, which is actually very simple, but anyway, there is also this that came from the Oasis 2025 event. So there was a hackathon there, and some people realized, okay, this is perfect for CKEditor. And to be honest, this is I'm not gonna say the real implementation, but how you really want to do it is having JavaScript talk to JavaScript, right? So what you get here is some CKEditor tools as well. The difference then with the browser provider is that it gives you access to the whole actual ecosystem of modules in Drupal. So everything we have created in Drupal will be available using that. And there are one obvious caveat that, of course, if you're running 16 gigabyte of RAM, the response won't always be great. So when I'm trying to for instance, have it, do this rewrite of tone, sarcastic, then sometimes it answered, yes, I can do that, and then came the text and stuff like that. The other the other caveat is, of course, there's a lot of Chrome flags. You have to run Chrome and so on. So yeah, there are some things you have to think about when you're using this, but there are also clear advantages, because yes, you can already in Drupal in production grade run your own local model using Ollama, LM Studio, VLLM. I don't know all of the providers we support. The problem is that, first of all, if you are using it, you have to trust that that website doesn't actually send it somewhere else, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is, if you're hosting this is not super easy to scale if you have to have a lot of users using it. So if 20 people asks at the same time, that's gonna start queuing it up. It's gonna take time. But if that's 20 different people with their own computers where they can run the model themselves, that's awesome. Plus, you can also see that it really stays locally. And this also opens up things like, when you trust Anthropic or Gemini or OpenAI or something like this, what you can do is run a pre-validation. Like, does this actually have some PII? And that runs on the client's computer. And when that is approved, then it can send off to a bigger model in the cloud. So anyway, let me show you. I'm just gonna extend. I saw I need to actually update this website, but it's just running locally. It's never being pushed. So the only thing you actually do is, go here. We haven't done our release yet, and we're gonna keep this in POC for a long time. Just copy this and install it as always after you've gotten it with Composer. And as soon as you have done that, there is provider settings. There's no API keys to set up or anything like that, but you can set up timeout, where you basically say, if it hasn't finished within this, something is probably wrong. Polling interval, how often should it check for new requests? And you can also set allowed routes where it should be checking for this request, because you might not actually want it to poll on every Drupal website always, right? So if you know you're just gonna use it on node editing, you might just have the polling on node editing as well. You can actually, this is a way you should probably not be utilizing it, but say that you actually have a MacBook. MacBooks are pretty strong when it comes to being able to host models. What you can do is you can log in on one computer on one root and have it polled there, and this works as a proxy for your account somewhere else, because it is the when you're logged in, it is a shared session, right? So you could actually have two computers in that case utilizing this. And that is it. Because otherwise, as I showed you in the AI API Explorer, this just becomes, you know, another provider as anyone else. So when you're setting up your default settings, or when you're setting up automators, or when you're setting up CKEditor, you can just choose this model, and that's it. So it's pretty cool. I will also say for AI 2.0, so we're on 1.0, right? Next breaking change. We're looking into maybe how this can be part of the actual core. So you don't need to actually install external module for it. So for the 1.x branch, this will always stay experimental. And I think it will take time before the browser providers also makes this into something stable. But in 2.0, we might actually seriously look into how we can introduce APIs for this and how it can be part of the actual AI module, or 3.0. Let's see where it lands. It is interesting, and I think it is already in a place where if you know at least, I mean, you shouldn't use it for end users, but if you have editors, those editor has MacBooks, and you have expensive builds right now because either you're hosting Olama or LM Studio via LLM or something yourself, or you might actually be using some of the bigger models, but you don't want to pay for it or you don't want to send it. As long as you know who is using it, you could actually start using this and play around with it. And as always, if you want to co-maintain, there's always that possibility. And if you find bugs, just add them to the issue queue. Thank you for watching.